Hey everyone, welcome back to English Leap Podcast. I'm Jeannie, and today we're going to talk about something that honestly blows people's minds when they first realize it.
And I'm Brian. Yeah, Jeannie told me what we're covering today, and I was like, oh man, this is so important. This explains so much.
Right? So here's the thing. We get messages all the time from learners saying, I studied grammar for years. I know all the rules. I can write perfectly. But when I speak, native speakers say I sound weird or robotic.
Oh, absolutely. It blew my mind. But it also raised some pretty huge questions about how we define art in the first place.
Right? So here's the thing. We get messages all the time from learners saying, I studied grammar for years. I know all the rules. I can write perfectly. But when I speak, native speakers say I sound weird or robotic. Right? So here's the thing. We get messages all the time from learners saying, I studied grammar for years. I know all the rules. I can write perfectly. But when I speak, native speakers say I sound weird or robotic. And that's what we want to explore today, because there's actually a paradox in English. Being grammatically correct doesn't automatically mean you sound natural. In fact, sometimes textbook perfect English sounds less natural than slightly incorrect English.
Wait, so you're saying native speakers are sometimes grammatically incorrect?
Exactly. Native speakers break grammar rules all the time, and we do it intentionally because that's how we actually talk. That's how we sound natural.
So learners are being taught one version of English, but native speakers speak a different version?
Yes, and that's the disconnect. Schools teach you textbook English. Textbooks teach you formal, grammatically perfect English. But real life, real conversation, that's a completely different version of English.
So what's the solution?
Well, that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to explain why this paradox exists, show you examples of how native speakers break rules, and then give you permission to do the same.
Let's do it. Let's talk about this English paradox. Okay, so let's start with the basic question. If native speakers break grammar rules, how is that even possible? Don't we learn grammar?
We do learn grammar, but here's the thing. Most native speakers learn grammar implicitly, not explicitly. We learn it by hearing it and absorbing it, not by studying rules.
What do you mean?
So like, a native English speaker doesn't learn the rule, use a subject pronoun before a verb. No, we just hear people say things and we absorb the pattern, and then we speak naturally without thinking about rules.
But textbooks teach rules explicitly.
Exactly. Textbooks say the rule is, and then give you examples, and learners study the rules and try to apply them consciously, but that's not how language actually works.
So what happens when learners try to apply rules consciously?
They sound robotic, they sound stiff, they sound like they're translating, because they're thinking about rules instead of just expressing ideas.
Right, like when you think too hard about something, it becomes awkward?
Exactly. It's the same thing. When you think about grammar rules while you're speaking, you sound unnatural. Native speakers don't think about grammar. We just speak.
So can you give me an example of correct grammar that sounds unnatural?
Sure. The sentence, I am going to the store. Grammatically, that's perfectly correct. Every word is right. But native speakers almost never say that. We say, I'm going to go to the store, or I'm going to the store, or I'm heading to the store.
Oh, so we use contractions and different words.
Yes, and the full formal version without contractions, that sounds stiff. When someone says, I am going to the store without contractions, it sounds formal or like they're upset about something.
But isn't I am going to the store just more formal?
It is more formal, but here's the interesting part. In casual conversation, formal sounds weird, so technically correct becomes technically weird.
So the grammar isn't the problem, it's the context.
Exactly. In writing, I am going to the store is fine. In formal speech, it's okay. But in casual conversation, it sounds wrong because it doesn't match the context. Okay, so here's the fundamental difference. Textbooks teach you one version of English, but native speakers speak a completely different version.
What are the differences?
Textbooks teach formal sentence structure. Real English uses fragments. Textbooks teach complete sentences. Real English has lots of incomplete sentences and run-ons.
Give me an example.
Okay, so in textbook English, you have a conversation like this. Where did you go yesterday? I went to the store. I purchased groceries. Then I went home. Every sentence is complete. Every verb is present.
Right, very formal and structured.
But in real English, the same conversation sounds like, where'd you go yesterday? The store. Got some groceries, then headed home. Fragments everywhere. Contractions, different structure.
Wow, it's so different.
Right? And the real version is more natural. It flows better. It sounds more like how people actually talk. But if you applied textbook rules, you'd have to say complete sentences.
But don't teachers teach this?
Not really. Most English teachers focus on grammar rules and correct forms. They don't really teach how native speakers actually break those rules. They don't teach that fragments are okay in conversation. They don't teach that informal speech is different from formal speech.
So learners end up speaking too formally.
Exactly. They end up speaking like a textbook, which sounds very weird in casual conversation.
What are other examples of this divide?
Textbooks teach I do not know. Real English, I don't know, or I don't know. Textbooks teach what is happening. Real English, what's happening, or what's going on, or what's up.
So it's mostly about contractions and informal language?
Partially, but it's also about word choice, phrasing, and how ideas are structured. Like textbooks might teach you to say, I am interested in learning about English, but native speakers would say, I'm really into learning English, or I love learning English.
Completely different words and structure?
Completely different, but both are correct. The textbook version is formally correct. The native speaker version is naturally correct.
Okay, but why do native speakers break grammar rules? Like, why is there this divide?
Because language is efficient. When we speak, we're trying to communicate ideas quickly. Grammar rules are for clarity and precision, especially in writing. But in conversation, we don't need that level of precision.
How does that work?
So the rule is that you need a subject for every verb. I am going. You are staying. She is coming. But in conversation, context makes it clear. So you might say, going to the store. Want to come? Everyone knows you're talking about yourself going and asking if they want to come.
The context fills in the missing parts.
Exactly. And it's more efficient, it's faster, it's more natural. So native speakers skip words because the meaning is still clear from context.
Are there other rules native speakers break?
So how do learners navigate this?
Learn the rules, understand the rules, but know that in casual conversation, it's okay to break them for naturalness. And know which contexts require formal correctness. Like a job interview, be formally correct. Casual conversation with friends, be naturally correct.
So it's about context?
Completely. Context determines how formal or casual you should be, and once you understand that, you can adjust your English accordingly.
So what should learners do?
First, learn the grammar rules thoroughly. Get a foundation, but then practice listening to natural English and start mimicking that natural style. Balance correctness with naturalness based on the context.
You know, I want to share a story because it perfectly illustrates this whole thing.
Tell me.
So I had a student named Miguel from Spain. He was incredible. He had studied English grammar extensively. He knew every rule perfectly. His written English was flawless.
But when he spoke,
he was so stiff. He would use complete sentences, no contractions, no fragments, formal word choice, every sentence grammatically perfect.
textbook perfect?
Textbook perfect. And when he spoke to native speakers, they would literally ask him if he was reading from a script, or they would ask why he was being so formal.
That must have been frustrating.
He was so confused. He was thinking, I'm speaking correctly. What's wrong? He didn't realize that correct and natural are different things.
What did you do?
I told him to stop focusing on being correct and start focusing on being natural. I had him listen to podcasts and movies where people were speaking casually. I told him to notice how they break rules.
And
after a few months, his casual English was so much better. He started using contractions naturally, he started using fragments, he started using casual words instead of formal ones, and native speakers said his English sounded so much more natural.
But was he still grammatically correct?
In the technical sense? No, not always. He used incomplete sentences, he used contractions, he bent rules, but it was contextually appropriate. It was natural, and that matters more than technical perfection in conversation.
So the lesson is that naturalness beats correctness?
In conversation, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so if someone wants to sound more natural while still being correct, what are specific things they can do?
Use contractions. Instead of I am, say I'm. Instead of do not, say don't or don't wanna.
Use fragments in conversation. It's okay to say going to the store instead of I am going to the store.
Use casual words instead of formal ones. Say stuff instead of things. Say yeah instead of yes. Say kind of instead of rather.
And vary your sentence structure. Don't always use complete sentences. Mix it up. Use short sentences, long sentences, fragments. Make it sound like actual human speech.
And the key is, you can learn these shifts by listening to native speakers. Pay attention to how we actually talk. Then copy that.
okay, so if there's one thing we want you to understand, it's this. Grammatically correct English and naturally sounding English are not the same thing.
Being correct doesn't make you sound natural, and being natural sometimes requires breaking rules. But breaking rules intentionally, with knowledge of the rules, is different from breaking them by accident.
So study the rules, learn them, understand them, but then practice speaking naturally.
Listen to native speakers, notice how we break rules, and give yourself permission to do the same.
This week, I want you to listen to a conversation between native speakers, a podcast, a movie, a YouTube video, and pay attention to where native speakers break grammar rules. Notice it.
And then try to speak the same way. Don't overthink correctness. Focus on naturalness. And I bet people will understand you better and say your English sounds more natural.
Thanks so much for listening to Englishly podcast. We really appreciate your time. Keep practicing, keep listening to native speakers, and remember, your goal is to sound natural, not perfect.
And if you got value from this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave us a review. Tell us in the comments, what grammar rule do you break most often as a learner?
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Oh, tons. Like, teachers say never start a sentence with and or but native speakers do it all the time. She wanted to go, but he didn't, and she was upset. That's how we actually talk.
But isn't that technically wrong?
It's technically informal, but it's not wrong in conversation. The rule about not starting sentences with and or but is more of a writing convention. In speaking, it's fine.
What about verb tenses?
Great example. Teachers say you need to keep consistent verb tenses, but native speakers switch tenses constantly in conversation. Like, I was at the store, and this guy comes up to me, and he's like, I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, there's like past, present, it's all mixed.
Right, multiple tense switches. Technically, that violates grammar rules, but it's how we actually tell stories.
So native speakers are efficient, not technically perfect.
Yes, and efficiency beats technical perfection in conversation. Here's something interesting from a psychology perspective. Native speakers don't monitor their grammar. We just speak.
What do you mean?
Our brains have two modes. There's conscious thinking, where you deliberately follow rules, and there's automatic thinking, where things just happen naturally.
Okay.
When you learn a language in school through grammar rules, you're using conscious thinking. You have to think about the rules, you have to apply them, but native speakers use automatic thinking. We don't think about grammar. It just happens.
So learners are always thinking consciously?
At first, yes, and that conscious thinking makes you sound stiff and unnatural, but with enough exposure and practice, it eventually becomes automatic.
How long does that take?
It varies, but it's usually years of exposure and practice. You have to hear natural English a lot. Your brain has to absorb the patterns. Then one day, you just start speaking naturally, without thinking about it.
Is there a faster way?
Consciously practice speaking naturally. Listen to native speakers. Focus on sounding natural instead of being correct, and gradually, your brain will internalize those patterns.
So you're saying learners should give themselves permission to be less formally correct?
Absolutely, because formal correctness isn't the goal in conversation. Natural communication is the goal.
But wait, if native speakers break rules, is it okay for learners to break rules too?
This is important. There's a difference between deliberately breaking rules because you know them and breaking rules because you don't know them.
What's the difference?
Native speakers break rules intentionally, but we know what the rules are. Like, I know the rule is don't start a sentence with and, but I choose to do it anyway because it sounds natural in conversation.
So we have the rule knowledge, but we choose to break it.
Exactly. But a learner who doesn't know the rule and uses incorrect grammar, that's different. They're not breaking a rule, they just don't know the rule.